The Department of Justice has put Congressman Issa and your committee on notice, letting you guys know that the contempt charges against Attorney General Holder are, as they claim, unwarranted and ill-advised. Your reaction?
I say bring it on. It's time to get contempt charges moving as soon as we can.
And, you know, you said that last week. You said now is the time. So you're saying why wait any longer after what they just said?
Absolutely. They're bypassing the protocol and oversight of the committee. Jenny, the facts state there that we have indications that high brass knew about this. In fact, Lanny Brewer, basically incriminated himself by lying in his letter to Grassley. Grindler knew intricate details as of, 2010 in April. So, Mr. Holder's hiding something, and we need to have the full compliance of the DOJ to the House, and seeing that is being thwarted, let's go through the contempt phase and let's get it to court.
You know, it's interesting because the Deputy Attorney General James Cole is saying that despite all these claims of a cover-up, that the lack of documents makes clear that these tactics began in Arizona, not among the leaders here in Washington. So is he saying the lack of documents, is he saying those documents don't exist?
Well, I want to remind him of April of 2009, Attorney General's comments in Mexico City, where he outlines a campaign that he's orchestrating with Secretary of Homeland Security, Janet Napolitano, about an aggressive campaign on gun running. Basically he's one word from indicting himself in that proclamation. And then the president further comes back a week later and tries to document that, Jenny. These documents exist. And so what we want is full compliance of the law. And, I'm really sick and tired of this administration and this Department of Justice having a problem in Arizona. And Arizona is absolutely sick of them. We want to see the full documentation. We want to see the documents and also see the attorneys in line that we have requested for full oversight, which Congress is vested to do.
And, are you thinking that the way they keep pointing to Arizona, that they're using Arizona, you think, as a scapegoat?
Absolutely. Look at the cover-up with the Brian Terry. Look at the exclamation. Did we actually see as Americans a proper announcement from the Secretary of Homeland Security? Did she really go out on a limb when one of her own was killed? And look at the dissatisfaction Arizonans and Americans had with the Attorney General's comments on the Terry murder.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I want to bring forward is where is the lack of the Hispanic caucus on their voice? Over 300 Mexicans have been killed by these guns. Where is the outrage? I want to know where the civility and the civil rights aspects for those people who have lost their lives are.
In one breath, you've got the DOJ saying, we haven't exhausted all the avenues to coming to a mutually acceptable resolution on this. In the next breath, they're saying that they've basically answered all the questions and that they've given you everything they're going to give you. So what other option do you have?
Well, there is no other option. It's get it on and, suffer the consequences. And I think America now understands the ramification, because this is not a Republican or a Democratic issue. This is an issue about justice. This is an issue about a cover-up. This is an issue about the invasion of the federal government and the Department of Justice. It's also an issue about the Justice Department trying to legislate, because as you know, there are 4 states that have new reporting requirements, and that is Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. There are over 4 pages, if I'm not mistaken, of requirements that you must now actually bring forward when you buy a long gun in those 4 states.
Congressman Issa, do you think he's ready at this point, as you say, let's do it now? Do you think he's ready to move forward right now?
I hope he is, and after these comments, I'm pretty sure he would be, but I can't speak for Congressman Issa, but I know from the tenor from my colleagues on the committee, we're ready.
Because the DOJ says, hey, it would be inappropriate for you to do this, the Attorney General. It's never been done before on the issue of a failure to provide documents relating to what they call open criminal investigations?
Well, it's interesting how this Department of Justice and this Attorney General interprets the law. And, I'm not an attorney, but I think a lot of people actually will dispute his handling of the law. If you look at his track record in regards to voting rights, his handling of this issue in Fast and Furious, I would say, his reputation as a proper prosecutor or as the top law enforcement aspect is in question.
Do you think when it comes to the issue of executive privilege, because I know Congressman Issa asked about this, but the president hasn't invoked executive privilege yet. Do you think if push comes to shove and you do move forward right now, that's exactly what he'll do?
Well, if he does executive privileges, then we'll counter again. And I think Arizona has every right to. So is the Terry family, and so does the American people to ask why we would give administrative privilege over this issue, because it is obvious that Mr. Holder had a say in this. It is very obvious that it goes beyond the Arizona U.S. Attorney's Office because of Brewer, Grindler, and Weinstein. So I would tell you, I don't think that's one of the issues I think this administration wants to pick with the American public.
Mm-hmm. Memorial Day is said to be a deadline. Do you think you're going to have it done by then?
Well, the thing that I would see is that next week we have a constituent work week, and unless the chairman were to call us back into session, which I don't think would be possible, I think that first week in June would be the deadline, and that's what I've been asking for is that would be my last date. I want to see us start moving forward with the contempt charges that first Tuesday we're back. You
feel like you've done everything you can possibly do. I know they say that it should be handled by an internal investigation.
No, I disagree, because, if you look at what's transpired with this inspector general, even they contaminated one of our witnesses. And there's over 80,000 pages of documents. There's over numerous witnesses that they were able to review. And those should be afforded the same rights to Congress. Mm-hmm. And so there is plenty of evidence out there. Now we need to see it. And I think even the Attorney General even hinted that there was email flow between him and others that was alluded to by Congressman Frankston's judiciary. And so we need that documentation.
Yeah, but you don't think you're going to get it?
Well, you know what? Let's there's always a first time, and the Attorney General is just like anybody else. He puts his pants on one leg at a time, and he is not above the law. He is subservient to the law, just like everybody else.